Today on Locked On Red Wings, Detroit battles hard but can't overcome roster deficiencies in loss to the Dallas Stars.
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. I'm a podcast producer for the daily JAWWJ News Radio podcast, while Scotty's host over at Locked On Tigers, as well as a freelance journalist for the Detroit News. And on today's episode, guys, we're going to talk about the 6-3 loss to the Dallas Stars. And while it may seem like a blowout, when you look at the score in a vacuum, we're pretty impressed with how this team performed, given everything else going on. And of course, we're going to lead the show off talking about that everything else that is going on currently with this team. But first, got to let you guys know today's episode is brought to you by Sleeper. Download the Sleeper app and use promo code LOCKDOWNNHL to get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. And yes, Scotty, I think even though the loss to the Stars is probably on the forefront of everybody's minds, I think it'd be kind of burying the lead to not talk about all the roster moves and suspensions that took place before the game even happened earlier in the day.
Yeah, well, also just like chronological sake, right? we got three moves that happened all before the game started. And we got, obviously, the Perron suspension. I don't know. I guess we can start with the suspension. That kind of was the domino for the decision behind a lot of the moves. He will get 6 games. I don't have any, I guess I'll use the word issue with that. I don't disagree with him getting 6 games. He deserved to get suspended. There's no... You appreciate standing up for your teammate. You very much don't appreciate the way in which he did it. Very illegal, dangerous way he did it, and thus 6 games. All the frustrations we had yesterday, I still stand by. I still stand by the frustration that nobody on the Sens is in the light with any of these or is having a conversation. There's zero discussion around anything happening around anybody on the Sens, which still frustrates me. I know it still frustrates you. But as far as the Perron thing in a vacuum, that this was going to happen, and yeah, it is deserved.
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to rehash the whole conversation that we had yesterday. We have a lot to get to in this episode. But yes, just to put it plainly, I agree with you. Perron deserved the 6-game suspension. I appreciate, like you said, him standing up for his captain. But the cross check to the side of Zub's head is not how you go about standing up for your captain. But he got a 6 games. They're going to appeal it. We'll see what happens from here. Either way, the team moves on. They placed Larkin on the IR, retroactive the 9th. They placed Kostin on the IR, retroactive the 7th, and JT Compher on the IR, retroactive the 5th. And in response to that, called up Jonatan Berggren, Zach Aston-Reese, who made his debut wearing number 11 for the Detroit Red Wings. Philip Zadina fans in shambles right now. And, of course, Austin Czarnik. And the thing about the IR and the retroactiveness of it, JT Compher going on December 5th means he could be back as early as today by the time you're listening to this.
He could be back tonight.
Against
he can literally be back tonight. That's a lot that's become significantly more popular in sports over the last decade is the retroactive. If you don't play, then that, you can retroactive and have it count or have it not count rather as games played. So, Compher, for as much as it's not great because in a perfect world, he's just out there on Monday, but because it's retroactive so long ago, he could, in theory, we don't know anything y'all don't know, but he could, in theory, be back as early as tonight. So we'll see kind of what happens there.
Yeah, which, I mean, this team desperately needs it. I think, obviously, the biggest piece you're missing, goes without saying, is Dylan Larkin, as he's placed on the IR at least 7 days from the day after the game against the Sens, I believe, because it's retroactive the 9th, which I think is that the day after? No, that would be the day of the game against the Ottawa Senators. So, I mean, it's going to be at least a week from there, probably more.
Yeah.
Of course, we still don't know the fine details of everything that happened, but I mean, regardless, it could have ended so much worse for him. So we're glad that the scans came back clear. Take as much time as you need, Cap. The team needs you, but we don't want to rush you back on the ice.
Right.
Anyways,
Fine line,
right? Anyways, there was still a game that needed to be played. You had an entire AHL line out there. Of course, the argument could be made. Jonatan Berggren is an NHL player, but the point being,
there was an entire line in this hockey game that 4 days ago, 3 days ago was entirely in Grand Rapids. That's wild, dude. Like that's objectively wild.
This team, man, I tell you,
and they produced. Shout out Burger, baby.
Well, and you know what? And shout out the team in general. You know, we talked about it yesterday. Obviously, we were super bummed. We were super kind of glass half empty, I would say, going into the game.
Defeated.
You were defeated.
I was defeated.
And I was a little bit trying to be the silver lining, like huge opportunity. We've seen worse.
Which is rare. Usually we take the opposite roles there. But you had to lead the charge on that one, bud.
And I thought, given everything, the team performed very well. I mean, you're missing JT Compher, Dylan Larkin, David Perron. So 3 of you in your top 6. David Perron's a goal scorer. Dylan Larkin does it all. JT Compher has been one of the most productive free agent signings from this past offseason across the NHL. You're down those 3 guys, as well as missing a key piece of your fourth line and key piece of your physical game in Klim Kostin. All that out of the lineup, this team performed admirably. I'm really impressed with how they came out, and especially at the start of each period. The start of every single period, this team came out flying, and for the bulk of the third period, they were the better team out there. Now, granted, they were down 4-2 at that time, so maybe Dallas took a little bit off, but this is a really good Dallas Stars team. We talked about it yesterday. They're top in the league in every statistical category. And the Wings went to Dallas and they fought them hard. Of course, unfortunately, still walked away with a 6-3 loss because there were some other issues we'll talk about that transpired. But I honestly cannot complain about the effort from the players in this game and the scoring. Players, we talked about it. Players needed to step up. And one thing that this team has had in spades is depth scoring throughout the season. And it showed up again.
Yeah, I certainly applaud the effort for the team. I feel like sometimes I'm just I don't know, maybe the word is like too competitive for my own good is like the phrase I want to go with. Like I really can't stand coming on here and being like, oh, we just got like we just gave up 6 goals and lost by 3, but like it looked okay, right? Like it was better than we expected. Like better than we expected and still losing by 3 is like not something I want to take pride in. You know, because like, that makes sense. But like I really, that being said, I do agree with you. Like I do think that the team that there was fight. This wasn't like a rollover type of loss. It's just like for me, you know, after game 82 ends, you know, they all count the same, man. And that's part of like fighting in the ups and downs of the NHL season. I think that you're seeing why the Wings went into the season with, you know, depth that people questioned. They're like, oh, like you can't not give Berger a roster spot, or you can't, you know, why are you signing so many people that are going to start off in the AHL? Well, like this is why. And so it's again, I've already said the phrase fine line in this episode probably too many times, but like this is another very fine line in my brain where like I just really struggle with like I don't know how much to applaud a 3-goal loss. Like, does that make sense?
I get it. No, I completely get where you're coming from, because we come on here and we're praising them for losing just 3 goals and whatnot. It sounds like we're doing rebuild radio. Yeah, like we've done these episodes. These are episodes that we did 2 years ago,
right?
Or episodes you did when Nolan was the host.
Oh, buddy,
right? Like back when I was still editing the episodes and not actually a voice on it. Like this is it. It can come across that way, but you know, there's only so much. If I'm being blunt, this is that type of game.
Yeah,
I don't need to retread all the players this team was down.
Right. And that doesn't mean that that's the season mindset now, but like until I don't know, like for the foreseeable future, that's like I feel like we went from a point where every game we were going into every game and we were like, okay, we need to win this hockey game. We need to improve, like our place in the standings. You want to maintain a playoff spot, et cetera, et cetera. And now we're going into games and we're like, I'm going to cross my fingers and hope for the best.
No, see, that's not what we're doing. This game is an exception to that rule in my eyes. And maybe people disagree with me. Maybe people will think that this is unacceptable that they lost this game. I disagree, just given all because to me,
I find it hard to believe that you can say that this loss is unacceptable. But
there's extraordinary circumstances going on right now. That's not, I don't think extraordinary circumstances is the phrasing you use, but there's circumstances out of the Red Wings' control that have put them at a massive disadvantage in this game, going into a hostile environment against one of the best teams in the NHL. So, like, all things considered, I can't complain when they go out there and in the third period, it's a 1-goal game, granted for 30 seconds. I can't.
I agree with you. Again, like, I agree with everything. I just, like, I have the
optics of it.
I have a battle going on in my brain constantly when talking about it. And it's just like a weird place to find our footing at. Because this is what we sounded like you said, for an entire year, like 2-3 years ago. And I don't want to make it sound like we're reverting back to that. This is just like this game specifically. It's really hard not to.
If the Red Wings lose 6-3 to the St. Louis Blues tomorrow, then the conversation is different.
So that's the TLDR. That's all that needs to be said. Like, this is like, you played the Stars, you were out everybody. That's why we're talking about this game in that light, against different opponents and with different players back, etc. That obviously changes.
Yep, absolutely. We got to head to a quick break, but when we return, we're going to get into a little bit more of the weeds of the game, who we liked, who we thought didn't play super well, and then at some point in segment 3, given how much time we have, we'll spend a little bit of time previewing the St. Louis Blues. So stay tuned to Locked On Red Wings. Got to talk to you guys today about Sleeper, a new NHL season. It brings all sorts of possibilities. Patrick Kane could score 50 goals. Seems unlikely given how few games he's going to end up playing, about 60 at best. But you know what? Crazier things have happened. And the Red Wings could still hoist the Stanley Cup despite all the problems that they're facing right now. Adversity makes a team better, and the Red Wings will come out on the other side a better hockey team for it. And you could win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is the #1 choice for daily fantasy sports and especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. All you have to do is pick whether studs like Patrick Kane, Alex DeBrincat, who's sluggish right now. He's getting a lot of shots. His expected goals is crazy. He's just not finding the back of the net. He'll get back to his scoring ways soon. Lucas Raymond and got many other guys. Hell, Jonatan Berggren. Let's throw him on there right now too. He's red hot with 1 goal in 1 game since being recalled.
What a pace!
What a pace. We'll record more or less than their Sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus, minus, and more in any given game. To win 100 times bet on Sleeper, you need to correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. You heard me, Red Wings fans. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get up to $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty and I are talking about the 6-3 loss to the Dallas Stars. Scotty, in terms of performances, does anything come to the forefront of your brain in terms of good/bad individual performances?
Well, I do want to highlight Berger. That entire line, again, and we talked about them already a little bit earlier, but they did not look overwhelmed. They did not look afraid of the moment there. All 3 of those dudes getting the call. But I thought Berger specifically looked good, man.
Yeah,
he looked good. And I know there's been a lot of conversation this whole season about his standing in the organization and his future with like where he kind of slides in long term. And if there is any silver lining to having a lot of roster spots open up all at once, it is that Berger is going to get a legitimate look here at the NHL. And I think that that's something that a lot of people have wanted all season.
Yeah, and the fourth line, the AHL line, the Griffins line, as we'll call them, they got very sheltered minutes. Zach Aston-Reese only 621, 11 shifts. Czarnik 14 shifts, 911 total ice time, and then Berggren 14 shifts, 830. Berggren spent the most of the game on the fourth line, but he did have a short stint in the second period on the second line, and that's when he scored his goal, just crashing the net, getting a rebound and burying it, which is what he did a really good job of last season too when he was scoring goals, was crashing the net. Berggren is definitely one of those players, and there was also a report too by David Perron. I think, excuse me, I'm sorry if I don't pronounce that right, of the fourth period, that the Wings are shopping Jonatan Berggren right now for trying to bring somebody in. I don't know how credible that is. Pagnotta's been very hit and miss over the years.
Also the timing of it is just weird to me. Yeah. Like, we could very much, a week from now have pie in our face with this, but the timing of it is just odd to me, because I feel like in the initial report, part of the reasoning as to why was because he was scratched from the lineup. Like, it was like he's scratched from the lineup and he's in trade talks, and it was like, well, he's scratched because he's getting called up. But I know that a lot of people in the fan base are kind of taking that news and running with it. We'll see what happens. I think they're going to prefer that some people come back before they pull the trig on that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, David Pagnotta stated that these call-ups do not change the fact that Berggren's one of the players whose name is involved in recent trade talks.
Yeah,
like, he's been very hit or miss over the years in regards to his accuracy. So I would maybe take that with a grain of salt until we hear it from guys like Jeff Merrick or Elliot Friedman. But
or any of the Wings people.
Never mind. Yeah. I think we'd be remiss if we don't mention James Reimer's performance in this game. Now, obviously, I want to get this out of the way. Red Wings were pressured a ton. Like most games, the Red Wings gave up a ton of shot attempts. 62% share for the Dallas Stars at 5-on-5. Stars had possession all game. We expected that. They just hammered the Red Wings with shot attempts in their zone because they just constantly had the puck. And so James Reimer was tested, but that is not to excuse a couple of softies that he gave. One was a dagger at the end of the first period with 0.2 seconds left. I usually criticize this team pretty heavily for giving up goals with just over or just under a minute left in a given period. But this one is squarely on the shoulders of James Reimer. That was, I'm just going to throw it on net and see what happens, shot from the blue line off the stick of Asa Lindell, and James Reimer just wasn't ready for it. Like, he thought period is over, heading to the locker room, and just went right by his blocker into the net. 2-1 lead going into the first intermission.
Oh my gosh,
the Red Wings needed that tie.
0.2 of a second, dog.
Yeah.
0.2 on the ticker. That's messed up. Like, that's what I thought. That's literally that watching the game. I was like, that's effed up, man. Like, I don't even have anything else to say. That's whack. It is completely on Reimer, though. And it's, I guess, frustrating is just the word. We've been using that word a lot lately. But that falls pretty squarely on goaltending, and it's just really unfortunate with that little time left in a game that, again, at one point in the third was a 1-goal game.
Yeah, the Robertson even strength goal, the first goal of the second period to give the Dallas Stars a 3-1 lead, is another one where I'm scratching my head. That one's about a 50-50 split blame, in my opinion. Jason Robertson, you can't leave a sniper like that wide open back door on his offhand.
He's disgusting, by the way. He's
I know,
disgusting, dude.
It's crazy. But then also, like, James Reimer comes across, and instead of making himself big to take up as much room as possible, he makes himself small. His pads are close together. He has his body really small and his glove like this. And I'm like, he just gives Robertson so much room. And, I wonder if, given the stance he has, if he was expecting a one-timer off Robertson's stick. And to be fair to Reimer, Robertson, again, should not have been left open. There's somebody missed an assignment. Sherratt and Petrie were both out there and that goal happened. But looking at the play beforehand, Sherratt, as the weak side defenseman, had already picked up a body in front. Petrie, as strong side defenseman, was off the net, fading towards the corner, which is normally kind of how you would address that as a defenseman. You do wonder if Sherratt sees that they switch off and Petrie just goes to the net front.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm not gonna nitpick it. Somebody missed an assignment on Jason Robertson, and I don't know who it was, but somebody needs to pick that guy up. And of course, then again, Reimer, he's got to make himself bigger in net.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it was also, we don't have to like have, goalie power hour here, but like there was also a couple of, there was one play specifically, I want to say it was 4 or 5 minutes left in the second period. It could have been 18 minutes left in the first for all I know, to be honest. But I feel like it was like toward the end of the second where he just significantly overcommitted on a play, like to a confusing degree. Like it wasn't like it was a cross crease pass and you were like setting up for a one timer. Like there was just a zone entry and he just significantly he was just like screw it. Like this is definitely getting shot. And he just way overcommitted to the right side. And it didn't even result in a goal. And there was a lot of sticks out in front of the net, thankfully, for the Wings. But like, it was a faulty game, unfortunately. Fine with him getting an opportunity. Glad we're mixing it up here. Lyon is still going to be 1A until he has a few bad games in a row. But man, like for all the other stuff that's happening, like off the ice and all the stuff surrounding this team right now, the lack of goalie stability still remains like such a significant issue for this hockey team.
Well, and again, like I don't want to hammer this team too hard, right? Over this type of situation.
Again,
like,
yeah, right.
But Reimer, like you said, was kind of scrambly all game. Looked like he was very reactive rather than proactive in his saves, desperately trying to get over at the last second. And you think that if he makes, one, if not both of those saves, the one at the end of the first period, especially, how much the complexion of this game changes. Yeah, like the Red Wings were in this game all the way until the last couple minutes. And even when they were down by 2, they were still applying a ton of pressure. If this game's even closer or even tied because Reimer makes a couple more clutch saves, it's different. But it's not all on Reimer either, right? Like, no, it's a team game, and defensively, and it's not talking about the defenseman, this team has got to at some point, and I'm not going to, this game, I'm not going to harp too much on it, but at some point, this team needs to do a better job at having possession, because the more time you give the opponent to have the puck, the more often they're going to get more shot attempts, which is going to lead to more goals against. So at some point, the key thing to addressing, one is, yes, goaltending, but two, just the style this team plays does not lend well to protecting your goalies. They need to be able to possess the puck more. But anyways, I'm digressing. We need to head into segment 3, where we'll, talk about some of the players that I thought did play well, all things considered. So stay tuned to segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Segment 3, Locked On Red Wings podcast. Scotty and I are going to finish up our conversation regarding the Detroit Red Wings loss to the Dallas Stars. I thought, again, given everything that this team has gone through, the forward group played surprisingly well. I thought you had very nice performances out of guys like Daniel Sprong and Robbie Fabry, at least at driving offense up the ice. Obviously, they connected for a beautiful goal for, which wouldn't have happened without Christian Fischer. Christian Fischer, right, driving to the corner, winning the puck battle, finding Fabry, who sends it beautifully to Daniel Sprong for the goal. Quick 1-0 lead in the first because the Red Wings apply a ton of pressure at the start of every period. especially at the beginning of a game. I mean, the Red Wings, and there's a nice stat that the Red Wings posted, or the Bally team posted early on in the game. The Red Wings lead the NHL in most players with 5+ goals, which just goes to reinforce that this scoring depth is crazy good.
Yeah, and it's again, we talked about it last year. It was one of the biggest things we wanted to see improved from last season over the summer and then to this season, and that's why they went out and signed 11 free agents and traded for a top liner, right? Like that's why you do that, and it's been really good. And yeah, Fabry I thought looked really solid. This dude also, I mean, we obviously can't catch a break injury wise just in general throughout the last couple of years, but keeps getting hit in the face. I feel so bad for him. I do respect, and I'm sure he earned some ice cred too. He said, "Get the cage off me. I don't even care. Don't put that don't put the bird cage back on." But yeah, man, I thought he looked good. The depth scoring, like you said, it's been a plus this season, and it's been one of the bigger reasons why this team has kept its head above water despite some of the problems that it continues to have. And we hope that that Berger and the like can keep that trend headed in the right direction. But yeah, I agree with you. I thought this game was a pretty solid example of it for all things considered.
I thought Shane Gostisbehere looked really good again too. He led the team. Man. He had 2 assists in this game. He continues to rack up the points. He obviously had the primary assist on Berggren's goal, as well as the secondary assist on Joe Veleno's power play goal. I don't know exactly what his statistics look like at this very moment. Give me 1 second and I can actually check for you guys. But I mean, he stays close to a point per game pace, I'm sure. As he just continues to dominate. He had the most ice time, I think, or second most ice time out of any Red Wing in this game. They just did, and that's something we don't. I don't know if we're gonna have enough time to talk about today, but the defenseman usage is kind of wild, and maybe that's something we should talk about in like an off day episode, because Jake Wallman had the second to least amount of ice time in this game. Moritz Seider, definitively, I should go down here as I should list it off properly for you guys. It was Seider had the most with 2048. Petrie had the second most with 2038. Gostisbehere had 2029, and Sherratt had 1950. Meanwhile, Wallman second to least with 1650. So the defenseman usage is pretty even, but for the fact that Jake Wallman had almost 3 minutes less than his defensive partner in Moritz Seider, I wonder what's going on there, because it's not just special teams, because Wallman also had 3 whole minutes of shorthanded penalty kill special teams. So he only registered 13.5 minutes of even strength. So there's a conversation to be had about defenseman usage, ice time usage for these defensemen on this team. But I'm digressing yet again.
We also play a lot the next couple of weeks. So,
and that's a part that could be part of it too. It could be preserving players.
Yeah.
But Gostisbehere currently has, I don't know if these statistics are up to date after this game or not, but it says on ESPN he has 21 points in 26 games. And if that's not up to date, that would be 23 points in 27 games, which is really damn good. He's so good. I mean, he also led the team in expected goals for percentage as well. I mean, he had a 75% share, expected goals for of 1.18 and expected goals against of 0.39 at 5-on-5, 53% of Corsi 4 share. He was just all over the place in this game. He looked really good.
Yeah. And on special teams, especially. He was he's nasty, man. He is, we use the term like a weapon, like that's what he is. And that's not to mean, that he's going out there and you're getting like Cal McCarr on the blue line, but like he is a weapon. Like he is a force offensively and really drives offense. While he skates so well in the zone when you have a setup, he's very fun to watch.
And I mean, I think just as a kudos to the top 6 in general, how hamstrung that top 6 was. That top hamstrung.
Dude, I thought you said how handsome.
Well,
hey, I mean, yeah, Joe Veleno was in that top 6 tonight, man. Let me tell you,
eyebrows, whoo,
good looking guy right there. Yeah, for sure. I was like, all right, like I don't disagree, I guess, but that's not really where I thought this was headed.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew Cobb immediately thrust into the 1C role. I mean, going against the Dallas Stars, I thought that line looked really good. Patrick Kane, obviously driving offense again. Every time he touches the puck,
good, man.
I feel so safe when the puck's on his stick. And that's
the thing is, like, you say what you will about the speed and the movement and how much he really looks like, like prime Patrick Kane and how far off he is, et cetera, et cetera. His decision making is otherworldly, man. Like his creativity and decision making is still miraculous, and that's what this team needs right now. And also Joe Veleno, while we were talking about him, I thought he had a great game too.
Yeah, absolutely. Joe Veleno obviously got the power play goal that brought the Red Wings within one in the third period.
Yeah.
Alex DeBrincat with the feed through the crease. It met a little bit of traffic, but it made its way through. DeBrincat, another player who's just like shooting the puck like crazy, getting all kinds of opportunities. He's just struggling to find in the back of the net. It's in due time, it's going to happen, but he's been definitely very hit or miss in terms of the goal category since his hot streak to start the season.
Yeah.
But I mean, the second line, I thought Joe Veleno looked good. I do think Reimer was probably trying to do a little bit too much, if I'm being honest. I think he probably understands the team's going to be leaning on him a little bit more with Larkin out, and so he was trying to do more, and it just wasn't working out for him. Get back to a simple game, he'll be fine. But I know we're over time already. There's so much to break down in this game. We could talk about Michael Rasmussen's struggles and how he keeps getting phantom calls against. Crazy penalty that he got called against him that led to that goal that put him up 5-3. Oh, I could go on for days about this game, but overall, I'm just so happy with the effort that this team had in this game. They never gave up despite missing some of their best players, and they kept it 6-3. But if this is the same score, or the result is the same rather against the Blues tonight, by the time you're listening to this, I will be less thrilled because the Blues are not nearly as good of a team.
Less understanding.
The St. Louis Blues, Scotty, so far this season, they are 13-13-1. They're sixth in a Central Division that has the Chicago Blackhawks in it. So this is
we can say tell it how it is. Right. This is a game that you should win. The thing that I really want to see in this game is this Blues team is favored. So like I would just like to win just because they're currently favored at the time of this recording. But the biggest thing is like this Blues team is like pretty objectively one of the worst offenses in the NHL. They do not score very many goals. They have the second worst power play in the entire NHL. They have the fifth worst goals for a game, fifth or sixth worst goals for a game. This team just doesn't put the puck in the back of the net. And they have middle of the road goaltending, right? Like they're about around league average in a year where league average save percentage is plummeting. Yeah.
Yes, combined their goaltending is league average, but that's because Jordan Binnington has a 911 save percentage, while Joel Hofer, who in 10 games played, is 893. So Binnington's been pretty damn good this year for them.
Yeah, for sure. So it's I just my point was like the defense and the goaltending isn't bad for them, and it has actually been like somewhat solid, but this team does not consistently score goals. And to me, that like I don't know, you just look at let's take a look at their last 5 games. 1 goal, 2 goals, 3 goals, 2 goals in overtime, 1 goal.
Yeah.
That like they've eclipsed 2 once since we've entered December. Like this is a team that you should 8:30 p.m. start time. Goodness, my day just got worse. But this is a game that you should be able to have the upper hand in, even with the men down that you are. I would like to see a good defensive performance. I would like to see whoever is in net not give up 4 or 5 goals. That would be really nice.
Yeah, and I have a feeling it's probably going to be running it back with Husso here. Reimer not going to get back to back. Husso hasn't gotten a start in 2 games. So he'll probably be back in this one, which makes sense. Second half of back-to-back against a weaker opponent, you throw it out there. Red Wings obviously still going to be down. Maybe there's a slight chance, given how the intricacies of the IR works, that JT Compher is back.
Right. We don't know, but
don't put your money on it.
Yeah, he is eligible.
But regardless, it's going to be weaker opponent, so victory should be on the table. mean, it should be on the table in every game, but even more so against a team like the Blues. But also, again, I mean, battling through adversity, you got to get wins regardless. But Jesus Christ,
like I said, man, end of the season, they don't ask how, they ask how many, right? Like they're not gonna they don't care about situations when the point total comes out at the end of the season. So you got to keep your head above water here. Got to go get a win. This is a winnable game despite the circumstances. Go take care of business, baby.
Yes. Last thing I want to say, and again, just not enough time to talk about everything, so I'll be real brief about it. But Ben Sherratt, Jeff Petrie getting absolutely shelled in the defensive zone. Not entirely on them. Again, the entire team has to work together to get the puck out. They're among the worst in the team at shot attempts against and for. Like their Corsi for percentage is like 20%. But Ben Sherratt had 6 block shots of the 21 that the team had. Again, over 20 block shots. So they just continue to be an enigma. Yeah, I mean, at the very least, you can say that they eat minutes, man. They eat minutes. Just want to throw that in there at the end. Anyway, Scotty, any final thoughts?
We ball, baby.
We do ball. Back with a game recap of the game against the St. Louis Blues tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. Same place, same time.
What?
Same place.
Did you just say?
It's your team every day.
It's inexcusable.